Hello and welcome to the APH Career Connect Succeed at Work video series. My name is Richard Rueda and I am with Career Connect. Today I have the opportunity and pleasure to meet and speak with Cole Hardman, who is the Major Gifts Officer with the Seattle Hospital Children's Foundation. Cole, good afternoon and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It is a pleasure to be here.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you do as Major Gifts Officer with the Seattle Children's Hospital Foundation?
Yeah, I work with individual donors that support Seattle Children's Hospital. It's a very enjoyable and meaningful job for me. I spent the first year of my life at Seattle Children's. They saved my life and understand the depth and great work they do as a patient. And for me, it's really working with donors and grateful patient families that wish to give back their philanthropic dollars to support the organization in very meaningful way.
And thank you, Cole. And a little bit later during the interview, I'll ask you about some of your experiences there as a child. But let's dive right into your work. What does a normal day of work look like for you as a Major Gifts Officer?
Sure. I think for COVID, it changed for everybody, right? So
Yes.
pre-pandemic, a lot of my work was one-on-one meetings with donors for coffee or lunch or event, stewardship events. And that has pivoted quite a bit during the pandemic. Most of my work now is all virtual. So a lot of phone calls, email, virtual Zoom meetings with donors to learn more about their connection to the organization, their philanthropic interest, and sharing the impact of their support.
Do you think, and I know for a lot of folks, working virtually is the new norm in many respects. Do you think your work productivity has increased, maintained, or decreased? And have you found any benefits to working virtually?
Yeah, I would actually say productivity has gone up. This is a great forum to share more about my visual impairment and blindness. And a lot of my work requires traveling by bus or Uber to different meetings with donors. And oftentimes that can take a lot of time. And so now that I can work all remote, my productivity has gone way up with more time focused on the computer to do my work versus all that gap time of travel.
Absolutely. I can echo those sentiments and love the fact that working virtually is pretty amazing in this day and age. Cole, how does blindness and disability intersect with your job and your performance?
Sure. Well, it's certainly a challenge, right? It doesn't make it easier. The big thing for me pre-pandemic was the travel piece, right? So a lot of the people I met with were in the Seattle area. However, taking the bus or a form of transportation, that takes time. And oftentimes takes a lot longer than just someone who can see and drive. That freedom isn't quite there. So, certainly that's one aspect. Another kind of silver lining, in person when we would have all staff meetings, I tend to sit at the front row, right? Because of my visual impairment. However, we're all on computers, right? So
Yes.
I again, that's a barrier removed that I haven't really thought about until just now. And same with so those are a couple of things, but in some ways, I'm fortunate. I know not everyone has the privilege to work from home, and certainly those barriers remain. And I think a lot of it just comes down to advocacy and what you need and using your voice to receive accommodation when needed.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing those experiences. And you're right. It does level the playing field when we're all on Zoom. You don't have to be in the front row. You don't have to have anything that really makes you stick out. And that alone is really cool. It's just a matter of learning the platforms. How does Zoom work? How does Teams work? How does Google Meet work? Do you use all those technologies on the job?
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of it is Microsoft Teams or WebEx or Zoom. And I certainly could do more to learn the accessibility features. But I think it's really shown how level the playing field, even closed captioning, right? Like I couldn't have closed captioning in a live meeting, but in person, right? But I'm speaking more for my hearing loss. I should note that I also wear hearing aids, so that makes things challenging as a visual impaired individual. So having subtitles with the features I use is very helpful.
Yeah, and thank you. And let's talk a little bit more about the assistive technology that you use and maybe some of the strategies you use to remain successful. So what other technology, adaptive technology, are you, Cole, using, and what are some strategies that have worked for you?
I would probably be a bad role model when it comes to using assistive technology. I'm a pretty stubborn individual. So in terms of the basic availability with the platforms we have, I don't go much beyond that, to be honest with you. Certainly, there are times where documents or things in person where they were too small, right? I would be sure to echo that sentiment to my supervisor or colleague to ask for font to be repurposed or larger, right? But again, when you're on a computer, you can zoom right in with the control and zoom button on your mouse. And it continues to I'm marveled by the barriers that it can be removed, to be honest.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you want to add to that, or is that good?
That I think in terms of other assistive technology, yeah, that's kind of it.
Okay. Were there blindness specific or disability specific skills you needed to learn as a young adult as you emerged and grew into your position?
Oh, absolutely. I learned as a child, so I have nystagmus, which is a very stable condition.
Did you say nystagmus?
Yes, I
Okay.
have nystagmus, which is very stable, but I'm legally blind and 2200 and corrected. Even with corrected vision, I'm not. I'm still legally blind. I am so thankful for the vocational work I did as a child. So through the school district and Captain Boxford of people, I learned to use a cane, which I actually don't use. I grew out of that, but what was more important was feeling comfortable to take a bus, right? Like
Yes.
I grew up in the suburban areas of Seattle where buses weren't accessible. They just weren't. But I knew over time as I got older, I would live in the city. And fortunately, at elementary school age, I really learned how the bus system works. And I'm a huge proponent and advocate for it. I think you can get so much done on the bus, learning the different routes. And, I got lost multiple times, but that just helped me grow more confidence over time, right? And now I'm so comfortable with the bus. And so it gives you a sense of freedom that otherwise we wouldn't have. And I know certain parts of the country have better transportation than others, but growing up, learning how to cross the crosswalks safely, right?
Yeah.
Looking both ways, the right way to look, to be extra vigilant. That was really important for me, to be really mindful of how to cross crosswalks. Again, so those two tools, looking back, at the time didn't seem significant, but the older I get, the more significant it appears. And really thankful for that.
Fantastic. Cole, looking at your job and some of the essential skill sets that you need to do your job and do your job well, what were some of the influencers that really worked at your favor to learn your job, to do public speaking, to do fundraising? What were some of those influencers that empowered you to pursue that passion?
So kind of what did I see that influenced me? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Growing up with disabilities and being a part of the children's world, I saw a lot of older kids giving back, right? So to me, I saw a lot of hope and optimism when I would see other kiddos who were older than me that have really wanted to give back. And the art of storytelling, I think, is really a valuable skill set in my work
Yeah.
in listening. And so it was really inspiring for me to hear these stories and see the impact. And so as I got older, I really wanted to hone in on those skills to also give back. It was really important to me. There was one individual in particular who was a lifelong volunteer at the hospital, and he held me as a baby and was a local successful car dealer. And he passed away probably 5, 10 years ago now, but this man, Phil Smart Sr., was the best storyteller I had ever met. And seeing him give back to the organization and how he used the stories of all the kids he met throughout the decades and seeing what inspiration he saw and what he learned, I really wanted to take a lot of that experiences and make them my own. But he was, a very influential person in my life to be not only successful, but to want to do what I do.
That's really cool. Yeah. Having someone that you can look up to or have heard from, and you're like, wow, that I can resonate with that. That's really neat. That's empowering. And it really shows your passion. And then you get to do the same and share that out.
Absolutely.